Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I am Pat Madsen, a member of B'nai Havurah and a leader in Coloradans for the Common Good, a broad-based organization of 30 religious, labor, and other civic institutions throughout the metro area. We are here to celebrate Denver's historic investment to keep renters in their homes by preventing evictions. Denver is currently set for a record number of evictions, 12,000 this year. Every day eviction court is open, 50 evictions. Every eviction is fuel for the fire of homelessness. In response to this crisis, Coloradans for the Common Good organized. We convened 600 leaders this past year in public actions, meeting with mayoral candidates and Councilwoman Parity, writing scores of emails, making countless phone calls, continuously meeting with our elected officials. Our organizing made this investment possible. I want to recognize the CCG leaders here today. Thank you for your work. Also here with us are the Denver Metro Tenants Union. Not sure where you are, but you're around. And Together Colorado. You too worked diligently on this issue. Thanks to Denver City Council, especially the three original lead sponsors of this effort, Councilwoman Gonzalez Gutierrez, Councilwoman Parity, and Councilwoman Lewis. I want to recognize Mayor Mike Johnston for supporting this proposal. Thank you. Thank you for listening to organized people in our community. We've secured $29.1 million in emergency rental assistance for Denver families. This investment will support 6,000 Denver families who could otherwise be homeless. 6,000. Children, workers, grandparents, and neighbors protected by this money. We have a long way to go to end the housing crisis in our city, but this historic investment in rental assistance is worth celebrating. To further clarify how important this is and what else there is to be done, I invite Alfonso Espino from GES Coalition and Kit Bloom from the Denver Metro Tenants Union to head up to the mic. Are they here? They're behind me. And bite the mic. You have to get it right in your mouth.
Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. I'm really happy and pleased to be here. My name is Alfonso. I'm an organizer with the GES Coalition in the Global Elyria and Swansea neighborhoods, and also a leader in Coloradans for the Common Good. In my work organizing tenants in their buildings, the biggest challenge isn't actually getting people to a meeting to challenge management and their negligent maintenance. Rather, it's actually keeping people in their building. Evictions is usually the main culprit, so I want to recognize CCG's member institutions work specifically to get to this rental assistance well-funded, because it will help us, organizations like the GES Coalition, to keep people organized in our neighborhoods. It's hard enough getting corporate owners to be responsive to legitimate safety concerns and deteriorating conditions in publicly subsidized buildings without the threat of an eviction looming over their heads. I have personally worked with tenants to apply for this rental assistance, and so I will be brief. For us, to prevent this displacement is a lifeline and will help us keep this work strong and people in their communities where they belong. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kit Bloom from Denver Metro Tenant Union. Our grassroots organization is proud to have been in coalition with Coloradans for the Common Good and Community Economic Defense Project as City Council debated a budget for the coming year. This amendment to the fund emergency rental assistance was the right and responsible thing to do because it puts the priorities of renters first during a growing eviction crisis. It is easy to imagine a budget passing without proactively addressing the record-setting pace of evictions. This amendment passed because Denver tenants and our allies organized, and we are grateful for the work of the City Council members who saw this through with us despite the challenges we faced. It is important to recognize that we came together to address an emergency that is a product of Denver's broader housing crisis. Consistent rent hikes frequently uproot households. These yearly rental hikes come despite increasingly poor living conditions and rising utility costs. So, as we celebrate the critical work we have done and what it will mean for thousands of Denver renters, we must set our sights on making Denver a city in which households are stable, secure, and empowered in the homes and communities where they live. A Denver that does not produce a mass eviction crisis to respond to. Thank you.
Now, I'm going to invite Mayor Johnston, along with council members Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez, Sarah Parody, and Chantel Lewis, to share their, excuse me, got to stick to my script here, to share their reflections on working with us. And I guess you're going to do arm wrestling for who goes first?
I'm the intro. I'll start. I'll welcome people. I'm just the opening act. Thank you all so much for being here. Delighted to celebrate this monumental success. I want to start with a huge thank you to Coloradans for the Common Good, which I think, yes, is really a representation of community organizing at its best, which I think at the origin, your founders looked out and said, we know we all have things we care deeply about, but if we're all caring deeply in our own silos, we never quite have the force of all of our voices raised together. If some of us are just fighting all day to stop wage theft, that's great. If some of us are just fighting on teacher pay or just fighting on renter protections or just fighting on gentrification, all incredibly important issues. But when we all actually bind ourselves together into one broader coalition, amazing things are possible. And this was a great demonstration of your coalition's leadership, so congratulations on your tremendous success. I just want to say briefly that we know this is a critically important step because it is the right moral thing for the city to do, and it's the right financial thing for the city to do. We know right now that if we have someone who is in a unit and is at risk of facing eviction and can't pay to keep themselves in that unit, we can spend about $5,000 to help that person stay housed. Not only is their family preserved, their life is preserved, but we make that key investment. If we don't do that, if we let those folks lose that unit and end up on the streets or unsheltered, the city will spend about $40,000 to try to help give them services once they have lost their housing. That means that if we didn't do this and we allowed those 6,000 families that will now be housed, instead of investing the $30 million we're investing now to keep those families housed, we could have done nothing. And instead, those 6,000 families would have cost about $240 million for us to support when they were unhoused. That's both a huge humanitarian mistake and a huge financial mistake. And so I want to thank Coloradans for the Common Good for leading on this, and mostly I want to thank the incredible City Council, who I think dedicated themselves to this proposition, and to these three women who were such incredible fighters for this outcome. I want to start by introducing who we fondly call in the building SGG. It's sort of like RBG, but it's the shorthand. Councilwoman Gonzalez Gutierrez, who's made an incredible impact in a very short amount of time on the city that needs her so much. Councilwoman, I want to give it to you.
Making sure our mayor doesn't trip over the court here.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez, and I am one of the council members representing at-large, along with my co-at-large here. This is a beautiful day. I have to say that we are truly living our values in what we were able to accomplish together, which is exactly what we set out to do. When we heard from community, when we heard from advocates, those who were asking, banging at the door saying, we need this rental assistance. We need it because it is a important layer in anti-displacement and anti-gentrification. This is important to the quality of our families and of the people of Denver. I do have to really sincerely thank all of the council members who did step up and support this effort. And what we heard loud and clear after that very first week of bringing budget amendments, when we said, we're going to do this and we want to do this, we had great support from council members. We had, Mayor, we did have veto proof of support, right? Taking from an area that not everybody was completely on board with. But we said, let's keep doing this work. And this is what it shows. It just shows the people of Denver that we can come together and do this work together, which is exactly what we set out to do. And how many times, Mayor, do you remember how many times at all the different town halls that I said, we need eviction protection, we need rental assistance? Every single time that we talked about how we're addressing this homeless crisis, we need to prevent it from before it even begins. And so I'm incredibly proud to be a part of this work. And the last thing I'm going to touch on right now is that I want everybody to look, well, of course not the cameras maybe, but everybody look right across over here at this gold dome. What do we got over there? That's the state. They're getting ready and gearing up right now for a special session, but then they're going to be getting ready to start their regular session. And what can they do? I've heard right now that there might be, about the same amount that we're investing right now in Denver on the table for the entire state of Colorado? I don't think so. For the entire state of Colorado, when we're on track of looking at over 50,000 evictions for the state of Colorado, we think that 30 million is going to cover that need. So I'm going to propose to the governor, look, Denver has made their investment for our community members here in Denver. We need the state to follow suit. I am going to now bring up, they're both pointing fingers at each other. I'm going to bring up Councilwoman Parody, my co-at-large.
She's the closer. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm still part lawyer, so I have notes. Oh, God. And they make us change our password every... I'm not even kidding. All right. I'm going to shut it. I'm just giving up. So here's the main thing that I want to say standing out here. It is a beautiful day, and I'm really, really proud of what we accomplished because, unfortunately, the need has never been greater. We are on track to surpass 50,000 evictions in our city, and this is a city of 300,000 households. So 50,000 evictions in 2023 in a city of 300,000 households. It's actually a little bit mind-boggling. And so I think that is why, all of us just got elected or reelected a few short months ago. And as we were going across the city, we heard absolutely everywhere that everyone had the same shared concern in Denver, the cost of housing. The rent is too damn high, right? We heard that from everybody. One of the places that we heard that was from Coloradans for the Common Good. They, through an organized campaign, first they conducted a listening session. They talked to, I think, over 1,000 of people who were members of their member institutions. So, workers, teachers, everybody who's a part of all the institutions that they comprise. And what they heard in those conversations, they developed a short and focused list of, I think, 6 or 8 policy priorities, and they said these are the priorities of working people in Denver that you candidates need to hear. And number 1 on that list, I can picture the handout that they sent me, was tens of millions of dollars of rental assistance, because that is what people told them they needed. And so they wrote op-eds, they had forums, they spoke to us, we heard. And so when we took office in July and we had just a few short weeks for the mayor and his team to form a proposed budget, and then for all of us to hold our hearings and think about what we needed to do with it, we understood the assignment. We knew what we needed to do because of that community work. And we also knew that we would have people from the teachers union, the tenants union, the churches, the synagogues, from all across the city, from Together Colorado, from the Cross Disability Coalition, showing up to the budget hearings and sort of keeping that call going. So we knew we would have the community support that we needed, and we did. Unfortunately, our interlocking crises from having not invested in people for far too long are not going anywhere. And so we are going to continue to need to hear from you all. You have to keep telling us what you need and holding us accountable to show up. We will keep doing it, but don't let us slack off. That's where I need my notes. Anyway, I appreciate everyone up here. I want to especially thank everybody, though, who came at this from an activist point of view. This is where that can lead, and this is what happens when we build up our democratic institutions and make them work the way they are supposed to work. Thank you. Councilwoman Lewis.
I do have notes, and I'm not an attorney. So good afternoon. We did it, y'all. Our city council, after years of division and disagreement, came together in the spirit of collaboration and built a true coalition to unanimously support the needs of our city's fabulous citizens. And I couldn't be more proud. The housing crisis and the economic pinch right now is affecting everyone, and I'm proud of the work we did to keep people housed. Right now, 60% of our city is only 2 missed paychecks or 1 disaster away from missing rent. Yeah, let that sit with y'all. 2 missed paychecks from missing rent. I hope they feel more confident after the council's push to protect rental assistance. Of course, we did not do it alone. I'm grateful for the hard work and the leadership, staff, and volunteers with organizations like Coloradans for Common Good. Thank you, they deserve an applause. For their assistance in organizing and educating the community, encouraging participation in public comment, and helping my colleagues and I to understand the truly dire position that many Coloradans find themselves in. Of course, this work is not done. We passed protections for only half the anticipated evictions in 2024. While I fully plan to revisit this topic during the mid-year supplemental budget conversations, just so you know. You've been warned. It's time for our state to step up. In 2023, statewide, our state has seen just under 44,000 eviction filings, which put over 100,000 people at risk of being unsheltered. By the end of the year, in the coldest months, there could be 6,000 more evictions. Our city will continue to do the work, but the state of Colorado needs to step up and help. Right. Help people stay housed. Help keep our neighbors under roofs and out of tent encampments. It's a simple ask. Do more than match the money. This is a statewide issue, but our city's residents flowing out of their homes with an eviction in their record inhibiting housing options will not help solve the unsheltered crisis Colorado is facing. I know there are good people working under the Capitol's dome across the street, and I encourage everyone to help make this a reality. Continue to put pressure on our government, offering real solutions that help. You've already proven the power in your voice. Keep them raised. I love y'all. Woo. Woo. All right, there you go. Amen.
Well, yeah, I want to thank you all again for working with us. And in addition to the speakers, I want to thank a lot of other members of City Council who are here. Maybe you can each wave a hand as I say your name. Councilman Watson. Yeah. Councilwoman Torres. Councilwoman Sandoval. Yeah. Councilman Cashman. Yeah. Councilwoman Romero Camel. And Councilman Hines. Thank you all for working with us on this, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Now, our next to the last speaker is Elena Rodriguez from the Community Economic Defense Project, and she's going to share the next steps that council people have also alluded to, the state level. And then Pastor Chris Gilmore will close. But, Elena?
Thank you so much, Pat. So I'm Alina, as she mentioned, and I'm a proud D10 resident and renter, and I am in Senate District 6 and House District 31. I want to be clear. This right here is where eviction happens every single day. In this very building, steps from us, where council and the mayor work daily, we have consented to sending thousands of our neighbors and their families into financial freefall every day and every week. And so it is for that very sombering reason that I want to thank the mayor and every single member of City Council for working with us to make sure that this building is now also the place where Denverites stand up for each other. Where elected leadership boldly sets a new standard to rise to, and where the city commits to preventing evictions and homelessness. That is thanks to all of you. And I especially want to thank Denver tenants for refusing to suffer in silence. Every day, Denver tenants get up to fight for their families and their homes, and that is why we take our cues from you. And that is also exactly why we must do more. We cannot take our foot off the gas. We had 1,600 eviction filings in Denver in October, and that is a number that should bring us all immense shame. That has set a devastating all-time record for the city since the major housing crisis in 2008. We've already run out of TRUA funding for Denver, with the 2 coldest months of the year left to go. And worse, Denver is not alone. Colorado has evicted more than 100,000 people this year, and we can only expect that number to go up. The stakes could not be higher. People who have been evicted are more likely to experience job loss, suffer serious health issues, and struggle in school. 1 in 4 Black children under the age of 5 live in a household facing eviction. And we should feel immense shame. It is past time for Colorado to step up. Localities cannot act alone if we are to successfully stem the tides of eviction, homelessness, and displacement in our state. We cannot afford to fail at keeping Coloradans housed. This is the moment, and tenants need relief now. There's amazing work being done to construct new housing and more affordable options for the future, but we cannot afford to wait. Rental assistance prevents evictions now, and preventing evictions prevents homelessness. As the mayor mentioned, we either can pay now or pay more later. It is fiscally smart to pay now. And we're lucky because the governor has created a miraculous window by announcing a special legislative session to consider the dire housing situation we face. Colorado has the opportunity to lead the nation when it comes to how we protect our tenants. And during the special session that begins this Friday, our legislature can extend historic and significant funders to renters at risk of eviction. Colorado knows what to do in an emergency. We did it at the height of the pandemic, and goddamn it, we can do it again. DOLA and partner organizations have already developed the program infrastructure. So if we fully invest, we can use it to reach households in every corner of this state on the brink of eviction and homelessness. I've spent the last 3 years of my life working in this very courthouse, trying to get money and services to people who are days away from being on the streets with their families. To be on the brink of losing one's home is a terrifying, life-altering experience, and eviction is worse. Mayor Johnston and City Council, thank you for investing in TRUA and fighting for a vision of Denver where everyone can stay in their home. It is time for the state of Colorado to follow our lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Alina. I want to inject a quick note here before I introduce Pastor Gilmore. You know, there are 3 numbers she mentioned. You all know your social security number and your zip code and your phone number. Know your city council district and your state house district and your state senate district, and then do something about it. That's all I'll say. Pastor Gilmore? And Pastor Gilmore is with the 6th Avenue UCC Church.
Thank you. So one last round of gratitudes. Thank you to all of you, my fellow CCG leaders and allies. I hope you're proud. Proud of what we did here. Our organizing made this happen. This is what organized people can do. Thank you to our elected officials who worked with us. We so appreciate all that you've done and for being here this day. This investment will help thousands of families, but there is so much more to do. We want a world without evictions, where all families have stable housing. And we'll continue to work with the city to make that happen, but know that the City of Denver can't do it alone. As you've heard, and I echo, we need to take this to the State House and to all surrounding municipalities. We have to keep organizing until all Coloradoans can truly say they are safely home. Thank you.
That is the close, but I'd like the speakers to gather near the mic because I'm wondering if any of you have any questions.
I do.
Yep.
Are there specific actions that you want the state to take during this special session? Any particular bills? Is there a particular amount that you want them to?
Lots, but she'll be more detailed.
We obviously respect immensely the work that our neighbors and our representatives have to do just across the street. I think we can all agree that the minimum the state legislature can do is exceed what the city has done, right? It is a much larger entity. At minimum, they should not be making the same $30 million investment. So we are hopeful that they could double or at the minimum just meet, match, and exceed the $30 million that the city has smartly and compassionately allocated.
Anybody else? Sounds good to me. Other questions? Yes.
Two quick questions. One is for the mayor, and the second is for council.
Okay.
Okay, so on the campaign trail, I know that you were vocally opposed to things like rent control. So if that's not a good solution to help stop people from getting evicted with this looming crisis that we're facing, what are some solutions that you want to see? And does that need to happen here at the city level or over at the state?
Great question. So our focus has been on how we expand the number of deed-restricted, permanently affordable units. So what that means is that someone in that unit never has to pay more than 30% of what they make to rent, and the rent can't ever increase unless their income increases. And so what we're focusing on is building new units, conserving units or converting units that might be market rate to being affordable, but we want all those units to come with deed restrictions, because right now what happens is we built affordable housing 15 or 30 years ago, but that's for a time-limited duration. And so now, in many years, we're losing more affordable units than we're adding. We want to be able to make sure the units we add now are permanently affordable and stay affordable, so people don't have to worry each month that they might get evicted or that their rent will go up. Councilman Lewis and I were talking to some folks over 48th in Colorado who are living in an encampment right now. They're all working, 3 of them, 2 of them working for Amazon warehouses. They were in an apartment 2 months ago and their rent got raised $300 that they couldn't make. And so we think rental stability is a really important part of this, and we can conserve and convert and preserve units to do that.
Is that kind of more so for you all, the work for you all to do, or does it need to be a collaboration?
We will do that right here at the city level. We're not waiting for anybody else. We're ready to move.
Secondly, I just wanted to ask about the funding, that nearly $30 million that we're talking about today. Can we talk about how that got moved around and where you guys were able to get that from?
This will be the last one, so make it good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is good. This is a numbers question. But essentially, we spent a huge amount of time talking to every member of council and the mayor's budget team, trying to figure out how we could do this without touching our city reserves, because we're going to need those. We're in ongoing emergencies. And so it's not that this isn't an emergency. It's just that if we could find it another way, we thought that would be a good idea. So some of it came from dollars that go towards property tax relief that has been overfunded and not utilized. We made sure that there's still enough in that fund to overshoot what we expect will be needed for people who utilize that money in 2024. Some of it came from savings across agencies in 2023 that the mayor's team identified with Councilman Watson and others. Some of it came from a very small cut to just the services and supplies budgets of city agencies, so not personnel, not capital investments. That was about 1.7% across the city, including us on council. And some of it came from a fund for sort of graffiti removal, a very small portion. So that's what we were calling it, our Frankenstein monster of funding, but we got it done. Thanks.
Thanks so much. And again, thanks to everybody. We all need to go, but thank you so much.
Thank you.